Talking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
I feel like that was loud.
You think so? I didn't feel like it was loud enough.
Well.
I like intros to be as loud as possible because we're important people, D'Anthony. And we got an important guest on the show today. We got Staff Sergeant Earl Granville on the show. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm doing pretty damn well.
When I saw it on the
You
schedule,
look cool. You just look cool.
Well, I'll take that.
Yeah, you look like a movie star who's just like, yeah, man, I'm off right now, COVID. You know?
I thought it was Doug Glanville from the Phillies.
Oh, you did?
Until he walked in and then was like, oh, he's not 6'1" in black.
And black, yeah. And that happens a lot for you,
does,
Dan.
yeah.
You think most of our guests are black until they show up, and then you're
I just
like,
I think
"Wait a
it's safe to just assume that.
yeah, I do too. Welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thank you so much.
We were joking before we went on air that we were going to do a box jump competition in the middle of it because you destroy me, and it would be hilarious because you don't have a leg.
Yes, I know.
And for me, I have two, and you would absolutely smoke me. But you do like marathons and shit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've done a few marathons with an organization called the Achilles Freedom Team. We take wounded veterans out and run marathons, hand bike marathons, and I was hand biking for a few years, and I thought I'd step it up and actually run one. And
Haven't these people been through enough, and now you're making them run? What is wrong with you?
I know. What is wrong with us as Americans that we're like, hey, dude, we know shit happened overseas, but now could you run a marathon for us?
what's the next Sufferfest, man? I guess that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's crazy, though. So is it a full 26.2?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Full marathon. My God, man.
Yeah,
And
it
you
takes me
got
all
to finish.
freaking day, man.
We learned recently that you pretty much have to finish in 5 hours because that's as long as they can shut unless it's out somewhere remote because they have to reopen the city and you can't just keep running through through traffic and shit.
Yeah.
So
For
you've
real.
got whatever time they give you. I just figured people would run all day or walk or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
But apparently you just can't do that.
No,
that's how entitled I
can't.
am. I expect an entire city to shut down for my fat ass.
Yeah.
Right? You kidding me?
Well, what they'll typically do is like the busier parts they'll put at the beginning.
Right.
So that way it's like, all right, let's get the newbies out of here because there is people that just show up just to do it and do it once and that's it. What was your time when you first did it?
Oh, man, my first one was about it was not a good time. It was about 8 hours. It took me all
It's a
day.
great time. Jeez, that's
Well,
what I would do now.
Some of these other guys, man, that even worse injuries, they're finishing this in 4, and I can't believe it. And I got an injury within the marathon, and I ended up walking a lot of it, and it sucked. But getting to that end was it's a good feeling, man. I'm like, fuck, it's nice to be done.
Yeah, I bet.
I think I could walk a marathon in 7 hours. I think if I was.
How many miles is that per
It's
hour?
about 3.2 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's like in the infantry, which the standard is with a 40-pound ruck to be able to walk 12-minute miles. Right?
Okay.
That's the standard. 15 minutes with no gear on, I think, might be I've done that I've done 12 miles in fucking like 2.5 hours pretty easily. But, there's a limit. You know what I mean? I don't know how you continue to legit replenish your body with electrolytes throughout that period. Like grabbing a cup of water and chugging the whole thing or a cup of Gatorade or whatever it is. That's not how you do that. You have to have like gummies or some shit, right? I would imagine.
You need the right nutrition
like
to
the
do
gel stuff or whatever the fuck. What did you use?
Yeah,
It has to be something like that. Otherwise, you're going to start seizing up and shit. Like it's not the water loss. People think that rehydrating, you can just drink a bottle of water like that. No, you will die.
Yes.
Like seriously, your fucking organs will shut down because there's no salts or fucking anything left in your body.
Yeah, it's salt tablets and I do have water as well, but it's mainly those like chewy Gatorade goos.
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. That works.
It's come on. It's electrolyte cum. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's plant cum. You're just fucking squeezing it into your mouth.
That's all it is.
There's no way to make that manly.
No.
It's not like you're running with a fucking tomahawk steak and taking a bite out of it every fucking half mile. No,
you've got little tiny.
You're sucking goo out of
gummies
it.
like a baby. Yeah, like a little tiny
But it's
baby.
fine. I mean, shit.
I mean, look, you finished.
Yeah.
You finished. Have you run again since?
Yeah, I've run 5 marathons
Holy
after that.
shit. So did your time get progressively better after
Yeah,
that?
not by a lot. I think my best one was a Chicago marathon, about 7 hours.
7 hours.
Wow, that's
That's still amazing.
way fucking faster than I would do it.
Yeah,
to be
same.
honest. Like I'm talking shit about being able to walk it, but I remember what I felt like about 20 minutes after that shit. I'm like, nope, not doing that again.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
That was
What's that
EIB.
like waking up the next day?
Oh, I'm in my wheelchair.
Really?
Like I'm in pain. Yeah. Yeah, my stump swells up, and so I can't put my prosthetic on. So I just jump in the wheelchair and take the day off.
Well, how do you?
Shit.
So a lot of our buddies that have prosthetics have constant issues with the rub, the wear and tear, and all that stuff just from day-to-day activity. Wida goes through it a lot because he works out a lot. Derek Carver's got a post now. He goes through it a lot as well. But a fucking marathon on that thing, I mean, what are you using? Is it seated well? Do you have issues day-to-day, or is it pretty decent? And that, because it seems like it would be fucked. Rubbed completely raw for a while after that.
Well, it's pretty red. I mean, the first thing I'm putting on is a silicone liner, which is a lot of protection right there, and it's pretty thick right on the bottom where a lot of that rubbing would be happening. But the last thing I want to do is in the middle of a race take that off, because if it's swelled up, it's not going to come back on.
You don't take your shoe off when you sprain your ankle.
Right.
You stay in the game, right? You tighten your laces up and you fucking stay in the game.
You have to.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're fucked for a while.
Yeah. Derek White, man, a good buddy of ours. He talked about getting the right prosthetic for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And he was just
and he couldn't.
Dude. Yeah.
Until he finally came down here, I think, to San Antonio to get situated. But I remember when right before he was getting his shit cut off, it took him 4 years just to get the VA to agree to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, fuck.
Oh, look at him now. It looks like I see on his Instagram he's running now.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit. He hates cardio, though. I mean,
yeah.
Everybody that was
Who
in
doesn't?
the 82nd, I think, is like, I'm not running anymore, okay? Just leave me out of that bullshit.
What human loves to run? Every time I see somebody who loves to run, I'm like, man.
I think it's people who like to, who are able to escape from reality without some kind of external source of content, right? Mm-hmm. Like a lot of us do it with TV or playing video games or listening to music or whatever. I think people that enjoy running just need their brain to be shut off for a while. I can't handle that. My brain is constantly like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? This is stupid. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
There's no fucking point. This is boring as shit.
Same.
I need stimulate. It doesn't stimulate me.
Me neither, and it feels like detention, like on a treadmill or something like that. I'm just like, man, I'm all good.
I mean, it's like that. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you're in a classroom or something like that, and some kind of boring situation, and you're trying to ride the clock out, and every time you look, it looks like a second has gone by? Like, fuck, man. That's what running is like for me. I hate it so much.
So let's start overseas. When did you go, and what were you in?
I was 28th Infantry Division, which is the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, as an infantryman. Truth is, man, I joined the military for bullshit reasons. I feel like my twin brother was talking me into joining, and Joe was he was all gung ho about it, and I was like, man, fuck that. This just isn't my cup of tea. But the incentive was, I was that guy. Give me all the shit you want. It was free education. I thought, oh man, this, I don't know how to pay for college, so this looks like a good way to do it. Do my minimum contract and get out. And then we hit basic training after high school, September 1st, 2001. We all know what happened 11 days later.
Did something happen 10 days later? No. That's
man, I
nuts,
got
man.
I looked at my brother and I said, "What the fuck did you get me into, man?" I was like, and I think that was just my attitude at the time. I was 17 years old, and I was just like, "This is not for me working for the government." Like, it's just that was my attitude as a kid, right? And then we were sent to Bosnia right after basic training. And you guys familiar with that over there? Which it was towards, I think we were the third or fourth last rotation over there. Like NATO had they've been there for quite some time at that point. So there really wasn't anything going on.
The Swedes were still there then, though, right? Like the Swedish still had a pretty large Air Force presence there or some shit.
There was a lot of, we worked with the French military, the Norwegians, Finland, France. There's so many. A lot of NATO forces were still there. So I thought that was pretty neat, because sometimes we would work with these other forces, just see how they work. And they're also a bunch of idiots just like us, just having a good time.
Yeah.
I was 19 over there, so it was a lot of fun.
When the planes hit the towers, did you immediately know, like, oh shit, they're going to send us overseas?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't just sit on the sidelines for that. Imagine, we're going to war. At the time too, in basic training, we didn't know who it was. My point of view is, we didn't see this every day, like on the TV, because you don't have access to any of that over there. All we knew was 2 planes hit the tower, one went down to Pennsylvania and one hit the Pentagon, right? That's all we knew. We didn't know the exact details of the full aftermath of what happened, like watching those towers fall. We didn't know any of that. I think we found out a little bit of that. Drill sergeants were telling us what was going on, but all that crazy footage that everybody was seeing 24/7, we didn't really see that till after graduation.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of guys who come on the show, the common theme is they join because of 9/11.
Right.
However, you were in beforehand, and it happened, and you're not wanting to be there anyways. You had to have just been fucking A.
I tell you, that was just my attitude at the time, man. I was never one of those gung-ho guys, I want to join the military and make a difference. That's just who I was at that age.
Yeah.
And I think, it is what it is. And, I always say, hey, give me shit all you want. It's just who I was. I think later on, though, in my military career, things started to change. So Joe ended up, we got warning orders for Iraq. It was a volunteer mission. And I was, being that we're National Guard, I was in the middle of college. So I thought, man, if I don't have to go, I'm not going to go. But Joe volunteered, and that made me think, like, fuck, man. God forbid if something happened to you over there, and here I am partying at college. Maybe I should go as well. So I decided to, and I have to say that was the best decision I ever made. I mean, going on this deployment to Iraq, it was 05, 06. I saw the big picture of wearing the uniform after that, and my whole ship changed of, being a soldier. And it was, I realized this isn't about me. Like, in the beginning, it was all, what can I get out of this? All right, yeah, free education, whatever it may be. And then the big picture, this isn't about me. It's about us. The guys I was with over there, man, I loved my job. And whether the politics of we should be in Iraq or not, that didn't matter to me. It was the people I was with. And I became an NCO, and I just loved my job after that. Like, it's Joe and I both re-upped our contracts, and I knew this is a job I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
And where and when did you get injured?
I was in Afghanistan in 2008.
Okay.
Right.
And what was the circumstance, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the political circumstance was that for whatever reason, the American government decided to surge in Iraq, right? A place that has no strategic value to us whatsoever. Instead of taking care of the war we had already begun in Afghanistan. We surged in Afghanistan a couple of years after that, I believe in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, as we were pulling out of Iraq. But everybody in Afghanistan at the time, between like 2006 and 2008, were really shorthanded, right? People were covering places they probably shouldn't have been. Cop Keating, for example, right? The Red Cell or Red Platoon situation. A lot of bullshit went down in those years. And that was the political landscape at the time. Now, you were deployed with the Pennsylvania National Guards and infantrymen. Were you guys training local nationals? Were you doing patrols? What were you doing?
Was this in Afghanistan?
In 2008, yeah.
We were part of the PRTs over there. What's that? Providence Reconstruction Team?
Yeah.
I believe the acronym. It's been so long. So our job was the security force for the actual core PRT, which is made up of civil affairs officers, U.S. civilian engineers, and what we're doing is rebuild infrastructure of Afghanistan. And being that we were security force, we would just escort from point A to point B. Worked a lot with the locals over there. It was. I thought it was pretty neat trying to go in with the meetings and sit in. Kevlar comes off. Females come with tea and a little bread and stuff like that, and learning a lot with their culture. It was much more different deployment than what I was in Iraq, and I think hands-on with that local government, it was kind of neat. And not even just the government as well, but just the people. We were mainly in the Paktia province in eastern Afghanistan, and we lived in the capital of that province, which was Gardez, and it was just so much different than anything I've done before. In my military career at this point. And,
can you tell me about the day you got injured?
Sure. So yeah, we were looking at a future site to build a school in this town called Zormont, and the person I was escorting that day, a civil affairs officer, was a gentleman named Major Scott Haggerty in the Army Reserves from Stillwater, Oklahoma. He was this gentleman. He just liked to be in charge of the vehicle he was in. All right, so every time we would take him out, he would take that shotgun seat. Okay, so I saw on the roster he was going to be in my vehicle. I knew he was going to take my seat. I'm like, that's fine. You know what? I'll jump in the gunner's hatch, and I put my gunner Craig Rains as a passenger in a whole different vehicle. Right. So it was a 4-day mission. On the final mission, we're leaving this site where we're going to build this school in the future, and we had to take a different route back to Fob Zormont to fuel up before we head back to Gardez. I won't get into logistics why, but this route just seemed a lot more open, less choke points compared to driving there and the dangers we were going to be put in, right? And on this route, it was the first time ever I saw in Afghanistan, like just a beautiful area where we were at. And I came over the headset. I said something along the lines of like, what the fuck is watering the grass in Afghanistan? This place is really friggin' nice, Right. And the next thing I remember, I saw nothing but black. And you know when you put your head underwater, like, you know, in the bathtub or swimming pool or a lake, it's like what you hear, it's like a faint noise.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to describe what I was hearing at the time. And I felt a momentum, and it seemed like a slow momentum. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, what is going on right now? And I finally came to, and the first thing I see is a big, beautiful sky. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon over there. I'm just, why am I looking at the sky? I realize I'm on the ground. Holy shit. My feet are backwards, and I'm full of blood. To the left of me, Humvee is completely destroyed. And I realized then we just hit a roadside bomb. All I wanted to do was assess the situation. I tried to stand up. You know, I don't have a working weapon on me. Is anybody else hurt? Are we in a firefight right now?
Right.
And I heard my buddy Joe Voda yell, "Get him in a body bag." All right, people are killed. Is it us? Is it them? What is exactly going on, right? And finally, my medic got to me, Doc Jones, tech sergeant in the Air Force, by the way. So, you know, respect to the Air Force. We always pick on him, but he started working on me immediately. And I was like, "Doc, how's everybody doing?" And he's, "Oh, they're doing fine. They're doing well." Well, he assessed my wounds, put me on a litter. Some other guys came over. They carried me behind an MRAP. And when they carried me over, there was 2 body bags they walked me past. And that was Major Scott Haggerty, the guy who took my seat that day.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And the driver was Specialist Derek Holland, Wind Gap, Pennsylvania. Just turned 20 years old. So
Oh, man.
he was a kid. So, I mean, the reality is I got lucky. That's the best way to put it.
But did you know at the time what was exactly wrong with you? Because it seemed like from your description that you were in good spirits and, you know, you were worried about everybody else, but maybe there was so much adrenaline that you didn't know what happened to you at the time.
I think my emotions went up and down like quite a bit. Like I said, I heard "Get him in a body bag," and it looked like I was going to bleed out. And I did start going shock a little bit. That got me in control. You know, and when I asked Doc Jones, is like, "How's everybody else doing?" And he said they're fine, which is what you're trying to do, right?
Sure.
You know, and then you know, it's inevitable. I'm walking right past those body bags, like, and I just saw the body armor there and the equipment. I just knew that was them. And once they got that shot of morphine into me and they got my bleeding under control, I felt a lot better. You know, a little loopy if anything. That morphine in the side of their butt cheek.
Yeah.
You know, and then there was a moment where I realized, okay, I'm probably gonna get out of this. Right. And then that Black Hawk came down. They popped the red smoke. They put myself, and there was also an Afghan governor in the backseat of the vehicle. And we both got on that medevac chopper. And one more individual got on as well, an Afghan police officer who wasn't wounded. He just got on to continue to escort that Afghan governor. And, you know, that dude, I'll never forget him. All I wanted to do on the, you know, my mind is racing at this point on the Black Hawk, just trying to, geez, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, man? You know, just look all fucked up. Like, this is permanent. Like, what's going to happen now? Every time I try to look up at my wounds, I want to push my head back. And I'm thinking it's the door gunner in the Black Hawk. And eventually I look up and it's that police officer. And he looks at me and he just shakes his head. And he kind of pets my head a little bit. I'm like showing a little compassion. I was like, well, that's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
So when we got to Bagram Air Base, they did x-rays on me and they said, we're going to have to do surgery on your right hip immediately. And before we went into surgery, once again, that police officer came in to my room. And big smile on his face, went like this, and he started talking. Didn't even speak English.
Yeah.
But, you know, we all know body language. And that gentleman right there, man, I'll never forget that. We're always told, we have heard instances over there like blue on green, where we're working with, that never happened with us, but, you know, moments where, you know, one police officer or Afghan soldier just goes rogue.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously this guy was, you know, not one of those guys, I feel like.
Yeah.
Now, we've dealt with quite a few extraordinary Afghan warriors of ourselves. I mean, the Black Rifle employs quite a few of them, as a matter of fact.
Coffee or Die did a piece on one of them that was unbelievable, truly unbelievable.
Yeah.
So once you're in the hospital, when does the doctor come in and actually tell you the news of what's going to happen? Because I'm sure you had a lot of questions.
Right.
but you don't know immediately until they come in. What did he say or she say when they came in and said, all right, here's what's really going to happen to you?
Well, the first thing they said was I'm doing surgery on my right hip immediately. And that's when, like I said, the police officer came in. Right after that, I went under for surgery on my right hip. The next thing I remember is they're pulling a breathing tube out of my mouth. And when I calm down and just realize I'm getting out of an operation, a nurse informs me that I'm actually in Launchstuhl Air Base in Ramstein, Germany. So everything in between, I guess I was awake when I found out later on. Like some of my guys were visiting me in the hospital after that initial surgery I had. I don't remember any of this. But when I hit Germany, as the docs, later that day, the doc said to me, we're going to keep your right leg, but your left leg, we're going to amputate through your knee. And I could say, you guys, like with confidence, I felt pretty good. It's like I'm trying to be positive about this. Like, look, man, if Major Haggerty never switched seats that day with me, if I was escorting anybody else, that would have been me in that seat right there. So what do I have to complain about? You know what I mean? Like, I got lucky. That's it. That's just a short way to put it. That's it.
Yeah, because we've heard it go the other way. Some people are like, man, I wish I was just dead. Because it's hard to deal with. And, the rest of your life is going to be affected by this injury.
Right.
So I've heard it go both ways. You just seem unbelievably positive about it. When he says, hey, we're going to take off, the leg, do you ask him what the next step is and all that other stuff?
I asked him if I could keep it.
You did?
Meaning, like, put it in a fucking box and take it home.
And turn it into like the Christmas story lamp or what? What
yeah,
are you gonna do
that's
with
what
it?
that's all I want to do.
I know
cool Halloween decoration, like we deflesh it or just have it displayed on a shelf or some shit like that.
I know a lot of dudes after surgeries who have asked that. They always say no. It's bullshit.
No shit.
Yeah, they incinerate it. Yeah, it's like there's nothing more mine than that fucking leg right there, man. Like, what are you going to do with it, doc? Like give it to your dog or some shit?
I feel like we should start a new charity that advocates for people to be able to keep
the leg
after they're taken off.
Yeah, right? For sure.
Why not?
Yeah, you could have taken
like,
that
what
home.
are you going to do with it?
Holiday tradition.
You can't... What, you can rob a bank with your...
Because you could have taken the femur and made a stew, anything with it. Like that's yours. You have the right to take that back. I feel. I've never heard they incinerate it.
If I take a bite
that's
out,
my understanding what they did.
If I take a bite out of my own arm right now, there's nothing illegal about that, right?
Yeah.
Is there? I don't think so.
No, there's not.
I can eat my hand if I want.
Yeah.
Cut it off and eat it. And that's the end of that fucking discussion.
There was a man in Canada who kept his arm.
Really?
Come on.
Look at that.
Come on, dude.
Shit.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Put that on the screen.
Does it say where? I mean, I can see it in his hand right now. I mean, what province he's in?
Edmonton was the city. So what is that? Saskatchewan, Alberta? Alberta, yeah.
I think.
I want that guy's number, man.
It's great for Halloween. You can just knock on every door.
Somebody breaking into your house, beat the shit out of him
with your own arm.
Yeah.
Quit hitting yourself. That's what I would do if it was your arm right now and I had it. I would hit you with it and say, "Quit hitting yourself" for sure, because I am a fucking child. I can't. I'm bouncing back and forth now in my since I've turned 40 between dad jokes and still dick and fart jokes from adolescence. But there was no transition. It just kind of happened one day.
Yeah. Look, it happens to everybody. I would have asked for the ashes or something of like, great, if you guys are going to incinerate it, give me the fucking leg ashes.
Then
I'll put that up on
sprinkle the ashes on your other leg.
Yeah, something with it. Snort them.
Pour one out for the homies, right?
Yeah, I would have done that. And they don't give you that either, huh?
Probably, I bet if it was a non-infantry person, they may consider it, but never because if you give something like that to an infantry person, they're only going to do weird shit with it.
Yes. But you deserve it. It's yours.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
God.
I'm just saying from their perspective, they're like, can we really, this guy's going to end up probably on the news. He's very motivated. So he's going to do something. Can we have him just running around out there with a rogue leg that we provide? Because at some point, like, they let you keep your leg. Who the fuck let you do that? Oh, it was Dr. So-and-so from Fuckface Hospital.
Wait, the doc comes out. Honk, honk. It's a clown nose. Because I always wondered if Bruce Jenner got to keep his dong when he got that lopped off.
I didn't know that he got his dick cut off. Are you sure about that?
I think that he did. We've got some advertisers here today, so I'm kidding. Bruce Jenner, keep that dong. Where's that dong hidden? That's what we want to know. That's the hard-hitting shit. Because let's face it, if that's on an auction block, right? It's just a formaldehyde jar with Bruce Jenner's original dong in it. God damn, what's that worth? You know?
Friggin' Olympian. There's some big fan out there.
Oh, huge fan. Yeah. It's like John Lennon's, last signature before Mark David Chapman shot him. Like, that album went for thousands of dollars. Like, Bruce Jenner's dong would go for a lot. He's an Olympic hero, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
So, you should keep your leg. He should keep his dong if he's allowed to.
Well, no, there's nothing more yours, man. I mean, come on, let's be real.
There isn't. How long were you in the hospital after that?
I was in Germany. I left Germany. So I got wounded on June 3rd. I left Germany for the States on June 8th.
Holy shit. 5 days?
Yeah. So, I went right back to the hospital in the States.
Yeah. But still, they get you out of there that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a short transition.
Maybe they should, maybe Spirit and American Airlines should start using that.
Yes.
They cancel all of my goddamn flights.
All your flights are canceled.
Come on,
you
man.
can't make any flights
I got
now.
shit to do.
But you get a leg blown off, boom, you're back
That's
in
what
the
I'm
United
gonna start
States
doing.
in like 48 hours. That's crazy.
I'm gonna take a picture of his leg and send it to him like, hey, I've really got to get on this flight. Can you make something happen? And then I show up with both legs. They're like, come on, man.
Come on, man. And you were like, all right, well, I'm going back to get his leg.
Yeah.
I got the doctor's info. I want to track him down, find out where he put my
We'll take
leg.
that doctor's leg and you can have it since he took yours. Fuck him.
Yeah, let's take the fucking doctor. What's his
Find
name,
out who
dude?
the doctor was.
Man, I wish I remember.
We'll find
We'll
out.
find that motherfucker,
There's a
dude.
paper trail. This is government shit.
Yes, we're getting your leg back, dude.
No, we're getting his leg.
Yes. Well, if he doesn't give up yours, like when we go and knock on his door, just give him a couple raps on that door. Be like, hey man, where's our buddy's leg? And he goes, I don't know. Great, we're taking yours, hombre. Let's go. I got a fucking bandsaw and a buddy, dude. We're gonna get that thing clean off today.
There's this dog chewing on a mangled up leg in the corner. Like, what the fuck? There it is.
There it is, and that's your leg. And you're like, what the fuck,
And then we
dude?
send him a Christmas card every year, and it's a picture of us with his leg.
Yeah, but we're like, in like Egypt, like on the pyramids and shit.
Like Flat Stanley.
We're just raging with the doctor's leg. Fuck him, dude.
Yeah.
That German doctor.
Piece of shit. Fuck him. Well, how is he German?
Yeah, well, you're
No, he was
German.
American.
No, it would have been an American doctor.
No,
at
it was
the
a
Army
Air
base
Force
in
base,
Germany.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know Germans had better doctors, and they're like, slide him on in here. If it's an American, yeah, dude, he's here.
Yeah, we can find
He's
him pretty
back.
soon.
He's in the United States. Let's find the fucker who took your leg.
He's probably taking other people's legs right now.
Yeah, we don't know it.
This guy's got to be stopped.
Yeah, he's walking up to people in car accidents and shit like that. Ambulance chasing, being like, "Hey, let me get that leg, dog. Let me get that leg, dog." When you're in the United States, where did they fly you back to? Walter Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the air base near it, but I was at Walter Reed, and this is going to be my home for a long time. Going through rehabilitation, learning how to walk again, all that stuff. And I still had to get operations on my right leg. It was considered limb salvage. And they even said to me, in the future, if this is too much of an issue, we'll amputate that as well. But, I think I'm beyond that at that point.
Yeah.
So this is now 2008 when this happened. The surge in the Iraq War was a year prior. So you can imagine at Walter Reed is just full of men and women in situations like this. And you would think of it as like a somber place, like careers are coming to an end, lives are completely altered, spouses are leaving their loved ones because they can't handle their injuries or whatever. It's just reality of it. So, like I said, you think of it as a somber place. I felt like it was the complete opposite. Like, man, it's just the one thing that you learn in the military. It's always giving each other shit and busting each other's chops. And it's like still going on at the Army and the Marines are duking out what's a better branch. Nobody still likes the Air Force.
Yep.
Like, this is all still going on. And I thought that was so, like, looking back, I thought that was so cool in my recovery. I'm 24 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody around me is pretty much around my age in their 20s, early 30s. So it's like, it was great seeing people with much worse injuries out there, like doing all this amazing stuff when I'm first getting there. And it just was eye-opening, like, you know what, I'm going to be all right. And
Again, your positivity is fucking incredible.
look, I don't know, man. I feel like shit could have been a lot worse. It's not like my dick got blown off or something.
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
that.
it's true. That's true.
And those first few days at Walter Reed in ICU, I think it was like the third or fourth day, they didn't want like my family coming down immediately, like just visiting me and just being overwhelmed. So that first week there, my immediate family got the green light to come down, and like one by one they would come to ICU. You know, first my mom, first my dad, then my dad and one of my older siblings, and eventually my twin brother walked in there, and I could say with confidence, man, it's just good to see everybody. I'm, cracking jokes, smiling, just positivity.
Yeah,
and,
I'm sure that helped them too, because people don't know how to treat you when you come back from something like that.
Right.
I mean, it's weird to say that a lot of pressure falls on the veteran to make their family comfortable to deal with them again, but it really is like that. You know what I mean? Because they don't know if you're fucked up in the head too, or how to, like, if they should acknowledge this shit. I mean, luckily, if you're in the infantry, your family probably knows you're a piece of shit anyway, so they're just gonna go right in and start talking shit. But that's not the case for a lot of people. You know what I mean? They just don't understand the dynamic of us. No matter how bad or fucked up something gets, there's still some humor to be found there, right? At some point. So how did that process go when your family started to come in?
My twin, Joe, he took it the worst. And Joe and I growing up, man, yeah, we're twins, but he played that role of the older brother. It's just how him and I, our dynamics were. And
he's the one that convinced you to go.
Yep.
So I'm assuming the guilt had to have been pretty heavy at that time.
And he didn't want me to go to Afghanistan. He's now married, and him and his wife are trying to start a family. So he said, look, man, this is my priority right now, so I can't just be volunteering for stuff like we volunteered for Iraq. So he's like, how about you stay back with me and we'll go on the next one? Because we were scheduled, like, who I went with Afghanistan with was a different battalion, and our unit was scheduled to go to Iraq a year later, back over there. And I said, dude, I'm just going to cut this cord and go. And he asked me, no, just stay here, man, we'll go together. And so him seeing me like this, he took this as like, man, I should have just gone with you. And the reality of it is, what do you mean what the fuck could have you done?
Yeah.
Like, this, like, it's not, let's just say you were there, and he wouldn't have been in that moment anyway, because they always separated us. The whole, like, Saving Private Ryan thing.
Yeah.
God forbid if we both get killed over there. So it's throughout our whole career in Iraq, like, we were never outside the wire at the same time. It's just what they did. We were in different platoons, and they would have done the same thing over there. So in reality, there's nothing he could have done.
Right.
But knowing him and his personality and how I know him, he was going to take on this guilt. And I kind of saw that coming. But I think hearing him face to face and him saying that, I'm like, dude, just shut up, dude. Like, I'm fine. I'm here.
You ever hit him up later and say, hey, you could do something for me and go back and find that doctor and get that leg? I would leave that on his doorstep, to be honest with you.
Well, so what about your parents? How did they take it?
I felt like they were pretty good. My dad, I think, had a hard time being at Walter Reed, not just seeing me, but seeing so many other, people in situations like this. And look, man, it is so easy to have pity and shit. You know what I mean? But I said, you could see, a triple amputee sitting there all fucked up. It looks fucked up, but you get to know somebody and actually build a relationship. You're like, oh, you're okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's it's like I said, how many times people say, oh, I'm sorry you lost your leg. I was like, well, dude, it happened so long ago, and I've pretty much figured it out. But I think that's human nature for us to feel like that. And I remember my old man was like, I just can't watch everybody like this. And I'm like, why don't you come have a beer with some of these guys, man?
Yeah.
You're going to realize a lot of people are doing
it'll be a pretty fun
good.
time, to be honest. I mean, we've had the benefit of that experience. So I think a lot of people it's weird to them. You know what I mean? I don't know what the expectation is, that people are just kind of sitting around moping or something, but that's very rarely the case for individuals, much less when they get together in groups. That's hardly, I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know if I've ever seen a group of vets who have been fucked up who are now together and they're just sitting around lamenting all their problems. Usually what they're doing is talking about what they're going to do next. You know what I mean? Which brings us to, what you do a lot of this stuff now. You do some charity. Some of it is based on the fact that your brother, who continued in service afterwards, after your injury, and eventually committed suicide, right?
Right.
And so you do stuff along those lines to show people that there's a pathway out of all this bullshit, whether it be physical or mental, that doesn't involve you having to blow your fucking brains out of your head, right?
I think the biggest thing is what we're missing here. And, first I got to say, when my brother, 2.5 years after losing my leg, it was a week before Christmas in 2010, I received that phone call from my mom. I'm out of Walter Reed at this point. I'm looking beyond what's next. looking at furthering my education, and then I get that phone call a week before Christmas. Joe committed suicide. He was on active duty at the time. He was AGR in the National Guard. So active duty in the Guard, we'll put it that way. And man, it fucked my life up, like big time. And it wasn't all like
more than the leg, right? For sure.
Oh, big time,
Yeah.
big time. Like I got this second chance at life, and Joe took his away.
Right.
And it just like 2011 was just like completely fucked up. Like I just started to self-destruct. And my when I first joined the military, I made it about me. And then going to Iraq, I saw the big picture. This isn't about me, it's about us. Like, being a part of something bigger than myself. And then my mentality went right back to making it about me, just like feeling sorry for myself, playing that victim, thinking the world owes me anything. And where the fuck does playing a victim get you in life?
Yeah.
But I mean, that is essentially like playing emotional prevent defense. And when does that ever work? I mean, even in the short term, it doesn't work very frequently if you're talking about a sports metaphor, but in the long term, it never works. I mean, never. You can't fucking. I mean, it sucks that we have to reduce these things to these silly little statements, but you can't steal second with your foot on first. You've got to fucking be active. You have to be aggressive in life to get anything done ever. And when you when you kind of fall back on yourself, and I think a lot of people, even those of you who haven't been in the military, will recognize this feeling if you've ever been in a shitty workplace. And there's bad management, bad atmosphere, whatever it is, and you feel like you're doing all the work and nobody else is doing shit. Chances are everybody there feels that way, right? And the only thing that helps everybody get out of that situation is when one person emerges as a leader and grabs everybody and starts moving them fucking forward. Because if you stay there, you're not ever getting out of there, right? Ever. And that's something that people like you fucking have demonstrated in a lot of different ways, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, it's so easy to fall in that pit of despair and why me. And we look at our culture now in today's society. Everybody, not everybody, but there's such a huge victim mentality where it's around you all the time. It is so easy to fall in that bullshit.
And there's social currency for being a victim too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like you've gained something, whether it's respect or clout or empathy or whatever, by announcing that you're somehow oppressed or affected by something, right?
We're looking at a culture of these social justice warriors. They go to a different culture, a different race, whatever it may be, and they say, well, you're oppressed. And it's like, who the hell are you to tell somebody they're oppressed or not?
Yeah.
Right? And it's, I mean, we lost the ways to look at each person as an individual and not their skin color or not their sex.
Somebody said something about the content of their character. It was talking about his kids, Reverend something. Hard to say.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? I mean, but beyond the fact that our society is fucked like that, if you're out there and you are personally dealing with some of this shit, or have somebody in your family that is dealing with it, understanding that is one of the most important things you can understand, which is stagnation, sitting in the same spot. It's just the weight continues to pile up on top of you. That is not a fucking game plan. It does not work for any amount of time. Now, I understand it takes people time to realize the situation they're in and then start things moving and shit like that.
Right.
But if you're in that type of situation, or somebody who is, you need to identify it as early as possible and start that forward movement, or you're going to be fucked, right? So, I mean, it's something, unfortunately, that wasn't, I think we weren't paying as much attention to it in 2011 as we are today.
Right.
Not anybody, not the VA. I mean, we were personally, but we had no idea what the fuck we were doing, right? We were just kind of making phone calls and hoping for the best.
Yep.
For lack of a better phrase. And
one of the biggest things I found in my recovery after dealing with Joe's death was, first I started stepping out of my comfort zone and pushing myself. It might sound silly, but I started challenging my so-called disability, right? I got involved in CrossFit and just being active. And it was silly because I'm like, I'm going to do something for my brother. I learned later on that Joe was very proud of things I've accomplished after I lost my leg learning on a snowboard. And that was a big drive in pushing myself to challenge myself more, which led me to, these charities that I run now, like Operation Enduring Warrior, the Oscar Mike Foundation. We were just talking about, you guys mentioned Black Rifle. They're a huge help in our archery program in our Operation Enduring Warrior.
Yeah, the adaptive athlete stuff. Yeah.
Yep, the BRCC fund. Yeah, they ran a few Spartan races with Tier and Nicole, like amazing people, man. Like,
they just got engaged, by the way. Did you see
Yeah.
that?
Oh, really?
Tier just got engaged.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weekend that my crew was, I wasn't there, but the rest of my crew were at.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this past weekend. Yeah, good, wonderful people.
That's great.
And what I learned, when we want to talk about mental health in the military, it's everybody always said, "Oh, your brother had post-traumatic stress," right? Or I have post-traumatic stress because of this bullshit that happened to me. And it's like how quick society and people just put a blanket over. All of a sudden, we're doctors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what makes you think I have post-traumatic stress? Oh, because this happened, so you're automatically going to assume this. And it's like where society has gone, oh, you're having a bad day and you were in Iraq? Well, it's got to be your post-traumatic stress. Like everybody in the military who wore that uniform suffers from PTSD, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
What I find in the charities that I work for are the veteran culture. It's just from my perspectives, a lot of men and women, man, I mean, just think of all the aspects you get wearing that uniform. You're part of something bigger than yourself. All that purpose that comes with it and the passion, like, U.S. Army, the infantry, the Blue Corps, or all 311 Marines, whatever it may be, all that passion that comes with it, right? I find people are looking at the military as their only glory days that they'll ever have. Right. And I said, when you take that uniform off and that chapter comes to an end, okay, it's time to fill those voids in. Find those 3 Ps once again: purpose, passion, part of something. Because I'm finding a lot of guys, maybe they do their minimum contract and they get out in their 20s or early 30s. You still have a huge life ahead of you, man.
Huge.
Like there's so much more out there
but
for
it's
you
not
to do.
This isn't a thing that's unique to the veteran community, though. We see this with professional
athletes. I was just going to say that all the time.
I mean, these motherfuckers, and gymnasts as well, Olympic athletes in general, but particularly professional athletes, because it's not a train your whole life and then you got 4 years kind of situation. It's a train your whole life, then you have a 15 or 20 to 25 year career, depending on the sport. Maybe you go into coaching or broadcasting, and then all of a sudden you're done with that sport now. That has been your identity for so long.
Correct.
And but you're not looking at the right thing. Your identity wasn't as an infantryman in the 82nd Airborne. Your identity was as somebody who chose to put their life on the line to protect other people, right? And that's something that you can do every day. And you don't always have to put your life on the line either. It's just somebody who stepped up when stepping up was required. And it always is required. That purpose is always out there, whatever it is. If it's helping fucking poor people, or if it's being a police officer or EMT. There's a million different ways to do this shit. But you weren't just a person who was serving their country. You were a servant of humanity, right? That is going to be required in every year of every fucking generation that exists on this planet forever. So the idea that I would just say, don't reduce yourself to just that, because it's not what it is. You're looking too broadly. You're looking too, you're focusing in on one small part of your life. But what led you to those decisions? And then what did that experience turn you into afterwards as well, is a good question to ask yourself.
You don't want to be on your deathbed like 40, 50, 60 years from now, and somebody said, so what'd you do with your life? Oh, I was in Iraq. Cool story, dude. What else did you do? Right. What was after that? You don't want to be Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I call it Uncle Rico syndrome. Look, dude, there's life when you take this uniform off. Find those. I try to keep it simple, man. And when I give my program as a public speaker, find those 3 Ps once again. Find that new purpose, develop that new passion, and once again, be a part of something bigger than yourself. Okay? Like, you don't need a uniform to go over to a foreign land and serve your country. Your communities need leaders. Get out there and step up. Yeah. I don't give a shit if you're working at a soup kitchen.
Right.
Just for a few days a week. It's also going to give you a little perspective and see how other people live, and like, you know what? I'm doing pretty all right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
And I think the recipe to find those 3 Ps is, a good attitude, because I'm sorry, I'm not going to make friends saying this, but that dysfunctional veteran attitude is going to get you nowhere in life, man. You're just going to self-destruct.
That to me is it's the same as some, I don't know, shitty women. I'm just a fucking Scorpio or whatever the fuck that shit is. Like, no, you're an asshole. You're just using that to fucking justify the fact that you don't want to grow as a person.
Right.
Get over your bullshit. Right.
And there's a lot of those people in different facets of life where you're just like, all right, great. You're just an asshole at this point. I've got an odd question for you. With your brother, Did you get an answer on why he committed suicide? And the reason I ask is I've had about 8 friends commit suicide.
Okay.
Only 1 out of the 8 was there an answer for it. The other 7 were just, boom, they did it and that was it. And I think that's what left everybody with a ton of questions that were never ending and everything else.
Right.
Did you get an answer? Was it just, well, PTSD probably or something else?
I think we could always assume. I never really got a full answer though. I think it was post-traumatic stress. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing anything. He's my twin brother, all right? So I don't think Joe had post-traumatic stress. I know his life changed when I lost my leg. I saw how it fucked him up. It really did. Like, he was not the same person. I'm not saying that's why he did what he did, but I stopped trying to look for those answers because what's the fucking point?
Right.
He's not coming back.
Yeah, and again, that's why I wanted to ask is I think people, when they lose somebody, especially to suicide, you're asking those questions the rest of your life.
Right.
And the people, my friends that I mentioned, I look at them on Facebook and they'll post the birthdays, the anniversaries, the kids, the photos, and it's why. I don't understand why you're not here. And there's a post about that every single time. And that's what you're leaving people with. And I think that should be part of the conversation when you're talking about suicide of like, hey, if you do this selfish act and you know, have a family and everything else, unless it's just you in this world and it's like, all right, great. Then the rest of your family is going to have those questions for the rest of their lives. And it's going to fuck them up just as bad as you feel fucked up during that current moment right before you did what you did.
Mm-hmm. I think what my brother or anybody, we'll just put it this way: when you're leaving behind, like, you know, maybe somebody you started a family with and your kids, that's a heavy shit. Like, people apologize to me and like, man, I'm sorry this happened. It fucking sucked. It really sucked. But he left behind a wife and kids. That's like looking at those kids. That was it's tough.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I see, you know, one of the kids in particular where it just it was heavy, you know, and it's if anything, man, now it's like this is where just my ideas of battling adversity, of like this things I discussed now, those 3 Ps, the recipe to find those 3 Ps, a good attitude, stepping out of your comfort zone, and the power of what a community could do. I think it's and also I also have to add this. Vulnerability, I think, is just so important,
right? Well,
to the right people.
We've confused the vulnerability and weakness too,
right,
as a society. When it comes to, particularly when it comes to masculinity, people think that people yearn for the quote unquote strong, silent type. That strength is not silent. That's what the fuck does that even mean? Strong and silent? Like, you just bottle it up and wait for it to fucking pop? That's stupid. That's irresponsible. Like, why the fuck would you even? Why have we spent so long romanticizing that idea that it's not okay for people to have issues if they're a certain part of a certain gender or some shit? That's fucking stupid. Right. Doesn't make any sense. And the consequences of it have been really fucking bad. Just that idea that you're just supposed to suck it up.
Right.
Yeah. You know, the power of what vulnerability could do to the right people, I think. I always call it never carrying the weight of adversity by yourself. Like, that's where a community comes into play. It doesn't even have to be a professional. You know what I mean? I think I look at my, you know, the gym I go to, and we're more than just fitness. We're a community. These charities I mentioned, Operation Enduring Warrior. Yes, there's taking a bunch of guys in wheelchairs or missing limbs through a Spartan race, right? It's more than just that medal at the finish line. It's those relationships you build. Right. With, I mean, when the weekend is done of what we did this weekend, you now built relationships with people. Reach out to one of them on those bad days. It's your responsibility in yourself to do that. You know, one thing with the military, we always taught, like, look for these signs, which is important. Keep that in your back pocket, all right? Yeah. Look for these signs when it comes to your buddies and mental health. Instead of, let's continue to do that, look for the signs with everybody, but also, how do you help yourself? Okay, and I think that's what we're missing, because how many times I've had, other than not just my brother, but other people as well, I didn't see any of those signs. So
and you never do. Like,
right.
Everybody, every phone call that I've got that was a friend like that, everybody says the same thing. We never saw any signs, except for the one. And that was the only one where everybody had an answer on, and it was kind of easier to deal with. So at least you had some form of an answer to it.
Right.
But the other 7, nothing.
Right.
No signs, no nothing. Same out of the wife, kids, everything else.
Mm-hmm. I wish when it comes to people on active duty. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been in the military, but I think we need to start discussing this. And I get hired by guard units, military units, law enforcement, and I give my program. Like, continue to look after each other, but also you got to look after yourself, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's just as important. It's like the airplane thing. You know what I mean? When the plane starts going down, you put your mask on first before you put on somebody else's. You got to take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, that's a thing that people in startups and managers run into a lot, generally speaking. If you can't, if you want something done right, just do it yourself is a fucking stupid attitude, and it's also really shitty management. Like, how is anybody supposed to grow if you're not willing to take risk and train them? And the ultimate effect of you taking on too much is that they're not getting what they need from you anyways, and you're certainly not getting what you need.
Yep.
You operate best at 100%, right? So why not get yourself there? And it's not to say you should be selfish and put others before yourself. That's certainly not the case. I would never tell anybody to do that. But you do have to keep an eye on yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the other part of that is were any of these people equipped to recognize it even in themselves at that point? You know what I mean? Like, we spend a lot of time looking at each other, but nobody's going to know you better than you. So if you're equipped with this information, you can, not only identify it, but then what do you do after you identify it? Ask somebody for help.
Yeah.
Like that process has, from somebody who's been through that whole situation with the military and mental health, was not there. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
You just kind of had to figure it out. Well, that's not the case anymore. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of groups like yours. There are a lot of people who do, even pro bono therapy for veterans out there that can help you get through this shit, right? So I just don't think there's any excuse anymore.
You just have to be willing to do it. I mean, we've talked about it on this show. Like, when I was going through some shit, Dr. Frank, I went to a doctor because I couldn't figure out what was going on. Ended up being like low T, right? But I wasn't used to it and everything else. And your mind starts to wander. You feel fucking crazy. And you're like, all right. First person I grabbed was my wife. And I said, look, I'm going through X. I don't know what this is. And at the time, everything was great in my life. Could not figure it out. And then I went to a couple doctors and figured it out. But if I didn't have that conversation with her that day, or go and seek out a doctor or whatever, like, who knows what would have happened, right? In the end. But it's exactly like Dan was saying, like, dude, you've got to identify it first and then stand up and actually say something and do something about it.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, dude, you're alone with your own thoughts. Nobody knows what you're going through. And then that's when you get that call of, we never saw the signs.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really fucking stupid from both directions, from the direction of the person looking to help and from the person who needs help. And every time any issue ever happens, no matter what it is, the economy or disaster or fucking or medicine or fucking food or whatever it is, any kind of issue, psychological issues that arise, for some reason it takes us some weird amount of time to figure out that community is the solution. The entirety of humanity has been based around figuring out you can't do it yourself and then getting together in escalatingly larger groups, right, to figure out how to address that problem. Right. And it has been a battle between the escalation of power versus the need, right? Obviously, that's what politics is, but every single solution involves the community in some way. There is not one thing that you just do by yourself in life. That doesn't exist. All of human history shows this.
Yeah.
And it's not just us. Other primates do the same. So why the fuck is that always the last thing? Oh, did you go through these first 15 things? I guess fucking ask for help. I mean, it's fucking stupid the way we go about this shit.
Yeah.
And it drives me fucking nuts.
And you're a living example of, I mean, dude, you lost your leg. You lost your twin brother. I mean, fuck, man, you've been through the worst, and you're, again, one of the most positive human beings I've ever met. So all of it is possible. It just depends on your own mentality.
Everything I learned, man, after losing my brother, the biggest thing that helped me was community. And it's, when I say community, it could be a broad spectrum of things. My gym I go to, Steamtown CrossFit, these charities that one helped me get through a Spartan race, and I was like, no, I want to join you guys. I want to be a team member. And what this led to, this filled my life with purpose once again. Once I started filling in those voids, I always put it towards the military because that's what I've known when I was younger. So, but when I started filling those voids, and once again, all all those same feelings like when I had in the military, I started getting a lot better. I started getting happy. I started leading once again. And it just filled my life with joy and happiness. And big thing is purpose.
Yeah.
You know, I realized you don't need a fucking uniform to serve your country.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and biggest thing I find with people that, especially when it comes to military culture, but it's like you said, sports athletes and everybody, like people just deal with this. Like when something very important of what you consider your identity comes to an end, you got to refill those voids in. You got to find something positive that works for you. Okay.
Yeah.
And my line of work now, there's a day when that's going to come to an end. It always does. Nothing lasts forever. So, I mean, at least now I have these tools that I feel like I like to get into an audience. I'm going to have to be using those once again to find out what's next. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think the biggest thing when it comes to all that push, you know, let's refill those voids, but also on those bad days, that vulnerability, you have to understand, man. I mean, whether it's professional, whether it's family member, and sometimes it might suck to talk to your family. They don't know how to. I remember when my brother died, and I tried talking to a family member about it, and they're like, "Well, you should go talk to somebody." And I'm like, "I'm trying to talk to you."
Yeah.
Right? And I realized, well, maybe you're not the person. And and that's fine. That is perfectly fine. So where's my next avenue? So I started seeing a counselor at a vet center. You know, and it just, a lot of it could be just trial and error. You know, on those bad days, if you're trying to, the resources you have, they're not working, don't give up, man. Try another avenue, try another approach, whatever it is out there. It's, you know, nothing is, I think when it comes to mental health, you know, well, here's how your mind is. Like we're wired differently. What works for me when it helps mentally, it might not work for you.
Right.
So you got to find what works for yourself, because you know yourself better than anybody. You said that before.
Yeah.
Well, it was me that said that.
Well, it's
that's
probably
fine.
me.
Don't give him credit for
No, it's probably me. And
Fuck
that's,
this guy.
Yeah, Dan's real dumb. So,
I know. I barely made it here this morning.
Yeah. If he didn't have a smart car, he wouldn't be here at all.
I drive a Jeep.
Yeah, you know what I find interesting too is when we walked in, you know, we got a bunch of people here. We were doing a bunch of shows all day. Having a prosthetic leg is so common now in this world that you don't even notice anymore. And somebody else, I said, "Hey, is the guest on Zoom or whatever?" And they're like, "No, he's here. He's in the kitchen." I was like, oh, all right, cool. And I walked in the kitchen, and I was like, I thought he was missing a leg. And I was like, oh, shit. It's just, you're so used to seeing it now. And I don't know if it's from this last war that's been going on for 20 years, because there's been so many incidents like this that it's so common. I don't know if you found that in real life, because to me, you just don't notice anymore where you're like, all right, great, yeah.
I mean,
see somebody every day.
This has been 13 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so normal to me. And in my mind, I don't remember what it's like having two legs. Okay, so it is so normal to me. And I see somebody else with it. Of course, you know, you do a double take. Oh, that guy's missing a leg too, and just move on. You know, but I don't think it's such a big
You guys
deal
don't
anymore.
go by and clink legs or nothing like. Apparently,
like sword fight.
Yeah, so we got a fucking Wrangler to take back and forth to the lake or whatever, and apparently there's a bunch of weird Wrangler culture bullet. Like you're supposed to wave at other Wrangler drivers. They leave like rubber ducks on each other's cars or some shit. I'm not doing any of that.
No. It's like owning a Jeep where you gotta give them a peace sign
That's
every
what I'm
time
saying.
another
Like, it's
Jeep
a regular
rolls
Jeep,
by.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know with if you're like, hey dude, what's up? You know, you guys have a thing.
I was just in Colorado, and somebody I wear shorts because it just makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
If I have to take it off, right? But somebody came up to me. I was in a store, and he said, "Hey man, you know," and he pulls his pant, like older gentleman. And it's, man, this prosthetic he was wearing, it's probably like from the 80s or something like that. And I was like, man, that is one old freaking leg. And you know what? I got to be honest, man. I have something new comes out. You know, I'm due for a new prosthetic. I'll get the new one. Not saying nothing's wrong with the old one. So what do I do with that old one? I give it to people. You know, I got to say I've been very blessed that because this happened over there, like the Army's still paying for it. They'll just, you know, hey man, I broke this leg here. Oh, here's another one. I feel like in the civilian world, it sucks. From my understanding, to get a new leg or whatever it may be. So I got this old one in the garage. I haven't worn it a few years, but it looks a lot better than that piece of shit. So here you go.
Yeah.
Does it work the same way? Like, even though you're different heights and everything?
I mean, it's easier.
You could adjust it.
It's easier to get a socket fit than it is to get the entire leg probably made, right? You would think. Like
well, the socket itself. So what you know, anybody out there listening, the socket is basically what you would put your stump in.
Yeah.
That's like made to
that's
you.
That's bespoke,
Okay.
right? So if you could replace that part, if it's still a leg that's in good service, then it will be the difference. I mean, it would have to. It obviously depends on if you're above or below the knee and all that bullshit.
Right.
It would be pretty easy to transition from one person to another, I would think, right? If
Yeah, I mean the adjustment. I mean, I'll even lift it up right here. So this part right here, this is the knee. There's 3 parts: foot, knee, socket. Right. This is mine. It's not going to go to anybody else. It's it fitted for strictly me. If somebody else could wear it, I'd be surprised. But this, you could adjust to somebody's height, and same thing with the foot. So I mean, it's the foot and the knee itself. It's hey man, you new leg. There you go, dude. A little adjustment, boom, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Trial and error, man. That's all it is.
What about the ladies? We asked Wida this when he was on the show, Derek Wida, and he said there is a fetish of it.
Oh yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah. I mean, you know what I found out? I used to model a little bit. I found out a lot of fucking gay guys. And I don't care, man. I don't look. Hey, man, you
it's
swing
a good
that way.
confidence booster. Yeah.
You swing that way. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
But man, when I used to model, it was like some people would reach out, oh, what'd you do for your diet, this and that, blah, oh, this, here, that, la, la, la. And one guy would just be like out there, like, exchanging back and forth my diet, my exercise routine. You got any nudes? Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, no, man, sorry, I don't swing that way.
Maybe you should start an OnlyFans.
It always leads to that. Yeah, because we asked Derek, and I was like, hey, dude. And he goes, oh, yeah, dude, all the time.
There's a fetish, definitely.
There is, yeah.
Swinging always. Like, hey, I'm sure there's a wheelchair fetish out there, too.
Is there like
yeah. The wheelchair porn is big. That's what broke up Katy Perry and Russell Brand. So
come on,
that's the only way he could get off. Yeah, wheelchair porn. He'd done all the shit, and yeah, dude. If you're not rolling over a boner right as you're ejaculating, dude, some people just can't get off. That's a big thing, is wheelchair porn. So
I didn't hear that. I never heard of that.
Well, welcome to the next level. When you get rich enough, your kinks fall out at that point. You're like, God damn it, how far can we take this? When my wife says it always ends in shit. Like scat porn is usually where it ends up for like the richest, where they're like, all right, great. Like OBJ. He's seen it all, done it all, and he's like, all right, now I need somebody just to shit on my chest. So I would put wheelchair porn just right above scat porn.
I feel like I've seen a lot in my life.
Yeah.
And at no point was getting shat upon or having my dick ran over by a fucking wheelchair even an option.
You're not there yet, Dan.
For the love of God, don't let me get there.
You're not. You make $100 million, dude, and then come talk to me. Because after that, dude, you're laying underneath the hammock, just like McAfee.
If I had $100 million, I would spend it all on tier 1 operators to go get this dude's leg back. Because I think that's the real point of this whole show today, is to either get his leg back or kill this doctor. Well, the doctor can live, I guess, but we're getting his leg.
We're getting his leg. I mean, he's going to be fine. What we'll do is we'll just swap it out,
Yeah. He wakes up with a prosthetic. He's like, what the fuck is this bullshit? That would be pretty great, actually.
Oh man, this has been a really fun show.
We could be honestly talking about anything, but if you put 2 imagery dudes on the set, it's gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, then it just leads to scat porn and wheelchair porn. You're welcome for that. Go home and look up wheelchair porn and then enjoy yourself, dude.
Yeah, take the rest of the week off. And just watch wheelchair porn and see.
Running over dicks and wheelchairs, man.
Yeah, call your boss and just be like, hey man, I can't come in this week. Why? What's up? Just discovered wheelchair porn. Drinking Bros. So.
What if we made one of those? You know how everybody, Jared did it. How everybody used to make those skateboarding and fucking like dirt bike with the grunge rock music over the top of it.
Yeah.
That bullshit. Yeah. One of those like shitty VHS videos. You make one of those, but it's wheelchairs and dicks the whole time.
That'd be great, dude.
I think we could do it.
My God, just an action sports of that. Action sport porn. With that, we do this segment at the end of every show called the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helps you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
Noah Galloway. You guys familiar with him? Noah's he's a double amputee, left arm, left leg. He was on Dancing with the Stars. He was on the cover of Men's Health magazine. Noah's a former member of Operation Enduring Warrior, and I've watched this dude, just from the magic of social media, achieve some amazing things. Humble as day, like very humble person. And I have to say, the way he carries himself, family man, like I remember watching him from afar, and just when I met him in person, I definitely fangirled a little bit. I was like, you know what, man, I've been watching you for a while. The way you carry yourself and what you've achieved, I want to do that someday. And I that was a huge, I think, push in my recovery. Just, something good come out of social media.
Sure.
It's just following the right people.
Yeah.
You know, before we end, guys, I brought something with me, and I would love to. I should ask you guys before we started this, but something that I carry with me on the course when it comes to this other organization called the Oscar Mike Foundation, and we talked a lot about mental health, and this kind of ties in with that. But
What do you got there?
right here's call their Cindy the Cinder Block, and what Cindy represents is that heavy. You know, we talk a lot about mental health. The heavy mental weight of adversity that holds you down and stops you from enjoying life. And when we take Cindy out to run these races or whatever we're doing, after a while, man, it gets heavy, so I pass it off to somebody else. And as a team or a community, however you want to see it, we all carry that weight together. And it's a reminder up in here, all that bullshit that you're faced out there, you don't have to carry it by yourself. As a community, let's carry that Cindy that you're carrying together, you know.
It's also a reminder to check on your buddy and see if the weight he's carrying, maybe he needs some help with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's buds. That's what buds is. They're carrying around a big ass log. Why? It's not. It's to teach those lessons, right?
Right.
Like many hands make light work, I believe, is the phrase a lot of people use.
And where did you guys start that?
I started that. Literally, it was running a Warrior Dash with some friends of mine, not with an organization. And we had chains on us. I saw half a cinder block on the ground. I literally put it together just to impress some chick I was with. And that was it.
Yeah.
And then I brought it to a race, and somebody said, "Why do you carry that?" And I'm like, "I don't know why I carry it. You know, I just, look at this team weight. Let's all carry it." So I decided to give her a little meeting. And it's I never knew it would blow up like it did. People got tattoos of it. Oscar Mike started selling T-shirts with it, and it just kind of happened.
That's awesome.
I just started running with it, and you know, magic of social media, people reaching out, man. Hey, man, can I make a Cindy? I was like, dude, don't ask me, just make it and just spread the good word, man.
Yeah,
that's what as a community, we need to do that. Like this is all of us together carrying this bullshit, so no one has to carry it by themselves.
That's awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and everywhere else.
Instagram, it's just my handle's Earl Granville. My website's earlgranville.org. You know, like everybody else, I have Facebook and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But check it out. If you have any questions at all, I don't care if you like my page or whatever. If you anything you'd like to discuss, by all means, man, just don't carry that by yourself.
Awesome.
And one question from the audience before we go: the chick that you were trying to impress, did you bang her or not?
Yes, that is definitely in the chat right now.
Yes.
You did. Okay, good.
I shouldn't. Fuck.
It's too late.
No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
too late.
It's too late.
Too
Are you
late.
guys dating now?
Huh? No, we're not dating. No.
Okay. Because what I would have done after you, if I were you,
What's that?
after you finished, I would have then put that cinder block in her chest and said, "It's your turn. You got to carry this home. You got to carry this home. This is your weight to bear now." Okay. Are you married in real life or?
No, I'm not married. I have a girlfriend.
Okay, cool. And she just watched the show?
I don't even know. I didn't realize you guys were live.
I hope not. And that's why I asked, because I want to apologize to her right now. Thank you for being here, man. This has been a pleasure.
Oh, gentlemen, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so
great,
much,
man.
man. Thank you.
Absolutely. For D'Anthony Holloway, Earl Granville, I'm Ross Patterson. We are the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone.